Matt Lenihan Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and our King's Competitions. We're joined by Gareth A. Davies. Gareth, how are we, my friend? I think a lot to digest about last night. I know the fight didn't last very long, but we need to start with Whittaker Cameron. Um, what's your overall sort of takeaway from it? There's quite a lot to talk about it, considering the fight didn't last that long. But what's your overall take home from the event?
Very impressed with Ben Whittaker. He's apologized. Well, from start, he had a lot of pressure on him. We needed to see power from him. That's what I've been wanting to see from him. We know he's brash and fast and dazzles and all those things. We know he's got a great ring walk. He laps it up. They love to hate him now, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is a massive benefit. He will come to realise that in time. As will Ben Shalom as well, by the way, I think, because this was a very good promotion in lots of ways. It sold the controversy about the rounds, the controversy about Whittaker pulling Cameron over the ropes in Riyadh, which I believe he did. I think he made that gesture physically, but he was very impressive last night, soaked up the atmosphere. Cameron's game plan was clearly to take him into the late rounds and absorb lots of punches, but he caught him with a perler, and he set the punch up the right hand and hit him with two body shots, trapped him on the ropes, hit him with 7 or 8 punches, some on the arms, and referee Howard Foster had seen enough. And whether you look at it as an early stoppage or not is up to you, as far as I'm
Mm.
concerned.
Yeah, so that was my first point of call on this sort of roadmap to the end of this fight. So from ringside, and obviously I saw the first initial shot that he caught him with, which was it was a, like you said, a perler. It was a beautifully timed right hand straight over the top, and then there
Shook
was a
his
bit,
legs. He shook him
yeah,
down to his boots.
it
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
and then there was this onslaught. Now I was looking, and a few people were saying from ringside, and the referee I feel is always they're always there. It's easy to scrutinise, but their safety is paramount. The fighters, and I was looking, going, you know, would a standing 8 count have been sufficient? But I think ultimately
You
Liam
can't with
didn't,
the IBF. You can't with the IBF.
and Liam didn't throw back. So it sort of did. Was he left with no choice there, the referee, or do you think it should have been? So you can't. There couldn't have been a standing 8 count there, Gareth. Said no.
No, no. Spencer Oliver, I was working with, clarified that to me when we were discussing afterwards. Actually, a very, very good, valid point. So Howard was doing what Howard had to do. He could have let him go on another 10 seconds or 20 seconds. I think my instinct at the time was that the fight was over,
Mm,
and that Liam was hurt. My instinct was he was hurt. Um, Whether he could have carried on, he's a very tough man and come back and been more resilient and taken more punishment. I don't know, and responded. I don't know. We will never know. But my instinct was he's hurt, and I understand why Howard Foster's doing it. But I also get other people being brave for Liam Cameron and
yeah.
saying he could have carried on. And I don't even mean his corner, by the way, because I think they've accepted defeat. I think they talked to their man soon afterwards. Um, and yeah, I think the optic, this is the clear thing for me. If your instinct is one thing, which is he was hurt and he was going to get more damaged, then I'm pleased about the stoppage. If your optics are that we needed to see more from a very tough man in a very big fight, it wasn't a world title fight. It
No.
wasn't. It was a grudge rematch after a controversial first fight in which Liam Cameron was setting out to expose Ben Whittaker as a powder puncher. That's what he was trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
who had bottled it in the first fight. So Ben Whittaker did everything he needed to do, and caught him with it. I say, as with you can only call it a perler, but he
It
set it
was.
up beautifully. So I personally have no arguments with the stoppage.
Yeah.
Matt, just
Um,
hold it 1 second. I'm just going to plug in my power point because it's just running out,
all
and
right,
I've
go on. I'll clip this out. Don't worry. Go for it.
okay, ready to rock.
Okay, man. Um, moving on to the next point I wanted to talk about. So from ringside, there seemed to be a lot of commotion. So there was a few things getting put out onto there. So I went straight onto Twitter to see what people can see on Sky Sports. We need to just clarify: Ben Whittaker did not spit at Grant Smith. I had that confirmed by Grant straight
I
after
saw
the
your
fight.
interview with him. I saw
That
it.
was confirmed. Grant didn't want to do it, but he says, "Look, no." I said, "Did he spit?" He goes, "Nah, he didn't." He said, "Didn't spit." Anyway, we moved on from that. But the I interviewed both Dave Caldwell, Johnny Nelson. I think Callum Simpson came in as well on the Dave one, and two very different contrasts. One from a trainer's point of view, obviously, and Dave another from that fighter standpoint. His first initial reaction was to go to Cameron's corner. Now he did receive a lot of stick in the build up to this, but what do you make of it? Are you on more of the side of, oh, it's emotion, it's this, and this, or the Johnny Nelson? Are you on the side of a Dave Coble who says, you know what, you've just got your victory show a bit more class, or are you somewhere in the middle? 'Cause I think it can divide a bit. This,
No, no, I've been asked this question, and I completely understand where Dave Colwell's coming from as a trainer. Your game plan's gone to pot. Your guy's been hurt. You want to know whether he was really hurt or not, whether it was a premature stoppage. There's a lot going through the corner team's mind. Notably, that they're concerned about their fighter. Um, so when another guy comes over and it looks like he's salivating from the mouth over his own victory over you, and he's goading you, it's not a good feeling. And I understand the word classless from Dave Caldwell. I completely get that, and it is utterly from a trainer and cornerman's perspective, people that are their gym family, basically. It's like
yeah.
someone insulting your family. So I get that from Dave, but I'm on the fighter side, which is I understand his outburst. He'd been quittickered and spittickered and whatevered for, this guy hasn't got it for 6 months, and he had a lot to carry, and it was just the emotion coming out.
Hmm.
And it was a spewing out of all that negative energy that he's had to take on board for 6 months. And we saw that at the press conference. We saw him suddenly become human, where he broke down in tears.
Yeah.
Family members have deserted me. I've carried a lot. And I think that will actually add to the volume of his fans afterwards, and the way that people see him as much of a more nuanced character who has feelings. And I'm glad he did that, because the big brash I don't give a shit Ben Whittaker was suddenly a young man who's been carrying a lot of shit for 7 months, and he's carried it.
I was just about to touch on this. So we almost saw the sort of the big reveal. I think like he's been almost shielding it. The mask came off. I don't want to say mask because that's who he is, and you front up when you need to. It's a fighting game. But when the dust was settled, he could finally let it all out. And I thought, you know what? As much as you got booed into here, whether people like you or don't like you, that'll endear more people to
Of
you that
course.
you've shown people that side of you on a big
And,
stage.
and he kept his counsel all week as well. He'd come in with the flashy clothes. He wasn't
Yeah,
saying a lot. He
yeah,
wasn't he wasn't being flash and brash with his words. He did his talking and his walking in the ring this time. And I think some of that is the influence. I mean, his dad Tony's a great guy. And I had a chat to Tony ringside and was saying, look, all that booing, it's only going to add to his notoriety, fame, and the amount of money and success he creates for himself.
yeah.
Because when you're unpopular, when people want to see you beaten, when they don't like your style because they don't think you should do what you do in the ring, but with the dancing and the pirouetting and the looking out over here, and the people want to see you get knocked out. More people buy tickets. More people spend money on you. And
Yeah.
in the end, they love you because you can't be beaten if that's what you can prove. So that was good. I was really impressed, as I say, with how little he said going into the fight. And I hope that's the influence of Andy Lee on him as new trainer.
I was just about to say, I think one thing for me was I thought this was a good matchup before, and then the post-fight interview with Andy Scott. Now, Andy Scott, I think, in fairness to him, stood his ground, and I think he wanted to clear up the Spitgate sort of allegation that came up on the internet. And you could see Andy Lee almost like that father figure wanting to step in and say, "Look, no, look, this is the pressure he's been under. I wouldn't waste my time on someone who wasn't, I wouldn't, who wasn't be able to give his time and all that kind of speech." And I just thought, you've got the right man there to guide you if you can put it all together. Is that sort of where you're at with it?
Well, I just think technically he's very good, and the last nine fights, I had a long chat with Andy Lee. I mean, I know Andy a long time, but recently I've had chats with him around Joseph Parker, and he feels he's evolved as a coach and a father figure and a trainer in the
Hmm.
last nine fights with Joe Parker, and has come into his own. So to go with a young man who's just coming out into the light, and to also for Andy's been around the biggest character in the game, remember,
Yeah.
in Tyson Fury. So he knows what it's like to be with a fighter who's loved and hated, which Tyson is. He's a divisive figure. He knows that there's a personality, an alter ego that you purport to have when you're going into an event, and there's a human being who you're getting to know as well, who you're training, who cuts and hurts and bruises. And who can have hematomas, and who can have injuries, and who can have fears, and whose confidence can go off in a weird direction and spiral away in a moment when you're not expecting it. So, and he's been there himself, and I think Andy, we've experienced it with Andy when he's on commentary as well. He knows what he's looking at. He knows all the time what he's looking at. He's also been with Adam Booth as well,
Yes.
Andy Lee, who again, the Dark Lord has passed a lot on psychologically and in ring terms to his fighters. And I think Andy Lee would probably give a nod back to Adam Booth and what he's learned from Adam, who's a fantastic human being as well. So all the right pieces were there, and it was a brilliant outcome for Ben Whittaker, who silenced the boos on Saturday night, and he silenced critique of him that he can't punch.
Hmm. Yeah. No, no, I'll go with that 100%.
Well, I'm
Look,
glad.
well, if not, we'd have been debating it for night and day, but no, spot on. Look, this week, sorry, losing track of days because of this
No,
Easter
no, I know. It's
weekend.
tomorrow we start.
This
Tomorrow, yeah.
Easter weekend has just done me in. But big week ahead. Everyone's in the country now. We're ready to go. How much are you looking forward to it? It's finally here. Eubank, Ben. I know it's work for us, but it's finally here. It's amazing how far it's been since that
It's
first
all
fight.
work. It's all work, but it's when you have a great passion for your job, you get yourself up for it again, and you enjoy the moments. And it is going to be a long, late into the night week, but and there's fascinating debate around this about whether it is a mismatch physically and in terms of weight, whether is Eubank Senior right that his son's cutting too much weight and Conor Benn's coming up too much? Are they risking two men in the wrong way? I'm really looking forward to it. He's very rhetorical and he's hard to argue with, but I'm really looking forward to being around them all week. It's a really good undercard as well.
It is.
Brandon Glanton against Billum Smith is Glanton's really dangerous fighter, and Billum Smith's biting off something big to chew here, and it's going to be really interesting. Lyndon Arthur and Anthony Yard. Lyndon on his day could prove everybody wrong. The outcome of that gives the potential for Yard Joshua Boatsy later in the year, because
Yeah.
there's now talk about Callum Smith and David David
Benavides.
Benavides, the two and the three and the four in the division, with Beterbiev and Bivol going at the trilogy fight. Trying to think of the other fights on the card. Liam Smith against
Yeah.
Aaron McKenna. Really, really good test for McKenna against a proven world champion. That's a really good card. Who am I
It is.
missing?
I can't remember looking at the top of it,
But
but
it's a really
is
good
that
card.
it's a crossroad? Is that a crossroads fight? You think for Liam Smith? Is that one to sort of say that look if he doesn't
Yeah,
beat out, is it? It's
yeah,
a tricky
exactly.
one.
He'll be getting paid well. He's a big name. He always brings it. He's beefy. He's rough and ready. And Aaron McKenna, I think, has got 10 knockouts from 19 undefeated, something like that. He's a tall, rangy middleweight. It's going to give him a good fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. But that said,
Vidal
undercards now.
Riley, Vidal
Vidal
Riley, and
Riley
Chev Clark,
and
of
Chef
course.
Clark. Yeah,
Good fight,
absolutely. Really
banging
good
fight.
fight. Jeopardy fight for both of them. Chev's been stopped recently or been beaten. Vidal, people will argue, has fought all around the world, but who's he fighting? Why is he avoiding people?
Hmm.
And I don't think he is. I just think he's very patient. But the bottom line is that we wouldn't be here if it weren't for the rivalry of Ben and Eubank 35 years ago.
Yeah,
Um, when you think at the referee for Ben Eubank won, Richard Steele. also reffed 40 years ago last week, Hagler Hearns, the 8 minute war, and said about Ben Eubank won, obviously with Eubank stopping Ben in the ninth round, a bloodbath, and calling it the most dramatic fight he'd ever refereed. That was after Hagler
Hagler
Hearns.
Hearns. Yeah.
So it just shows you why 17 million people wanted to watch that fight. You know, why there was a rematch, why they fought two, in fact, one in Birmingham, one in Manchester, 42,000 at Old Trafford. That was a big crowd back in that day because people had terrestrial TV, network TV, and that's why there were tens of millions tuning in. It was a big event. There were only, I don't know how many channels there were in 1990, maybe 5. There must have been more.
I think they were. They probably were.
There were only 3 when I was growing up. Then there was 4. Then there was 5. I remember when I was going to primary school. I think there were 4 channels, and they just started breakfast TV because it was dark from midnight till about 8 in the morning. TV was. It was just dark. There was no TV. So, but you know, it's a really, really big event. Whatever anyone says about it being a money grab and the championship of each other, they both care about the bloodline. They both care about family loyalty and family pride. And Ben's up against it, in my view. And yet they've weight restricted Chris Eubank in a certain way to try and even up the contest. Ben's going to be dangerous early. Eubank might have to cling on late. But we may just find, Matthew, that Eubank is too big and too strong for him.
It could come down to being that simple. And I've thought about this a lot, and I just think...
put your hands in the air,
and
you go, well, this is Khan Canelo, or this is Kalbrook Gennady Golovkin, or this is Roberto Duran Hagler. You know, the weight discrepancy has been there. I mean, look, Canelo's a dangerous puncher, and it was always a dangerous fight for Amir Khan. I remember Virgil Hunter saying he didn't want him to do it because he had to do everything right for every second of every minute of every round.
And he was up to a point. He was winning on the Scott, but it was almost like that ticking time bomb where you're looking, going, it's going to take just this one like lapse. And this
sitting in the T-Mobile Arena watching Khan's punches bounce off Canelo like large bees on a windscreen down the freeway. Just thought, oh no, look at Canelo. He's just fucking loading up and waiting to land a big one. And indeed he did. And obviously Amir didn't take loads of punishment. He took a fucking big shot. Excuse my French.
No, he did. Last thing I want to touch on with you, some news that are coming out. Shakur Stevenson says he is, not says, but I've seen he's nearing a promotional agreement with Luda Bella. I believe Dan Raphael put that story out. So match him to one side and he'll be going with Luda Bella. That must be a bit of a painful one for Mr. Hearn, who's obviously, you know, been with Shakur now for a little while and probably wanted that to continue. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think there'll be political reasons for that. And Eddie's not bothered by any of these things. It's like, again, talk about bees bouncing off a windscreen. Eddie's bulletproof, you know?
You think he is?
I think he's bullet. This is a guy that said if Turkey had asked him, he'd clean his windscreen, remember? You know, polish his boots. Don't roll your eyes like that. I know, but it's Eddie being Eddie, and that's what makes Eddie very special. And it makes him able to bounce back from anything. He's the arch survivor. It won't bother him. He'll look at the reasons why. We'll speak to him tomorrow about it.
Yeah.
He'll be there with Conor Benn tomorrow. We'll find out the reasons, and he'll go, Shakur wanted to go his way. It's a Turkey Al Sheikh thing, or it's he wanted him to be with someone else. I'm fine with it. There's millions of boxers out there in the world. Shakur doesn't want to be with me. That's fine by me. Unless he goes the opposite way and hammers Shakur, which he might do. Who knows?
Be an interesting one for him tomorrow.
Good fight, though. I like it because the paid has come on strong recently. And this is the fight where Shakur's got to show that he really is a thief in the night, in the ring, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I saw Zepeda versus, obviously, different circumstances, and Maxie Hughes, but I saw him against Farmer, and Farmer, I think, unlocked and showed that he's got some frailties in his game, because he's a heavy volume puncher, Zepeda, when he's on his game. But I think if he's come in that and Shakur's as good as we all think he is, it's an interesting fight.
You know, great fight. And that's the card that is that the card?
Alanga Shiraz.
There we go. It's really coming together, that card. So
yeah.
I worry about the rivalry, that being on the same night, July the 12th. if Dubois and Usyk is going to be on the same night.
So this is what I wanted to ask you. So
But that's why they haven't announced it, I think.
Dubois Usyk the same night, and then the night before that is Serrano Taylor in New York as well. Is that what I'm
So what are you
hearing?
doing? Where are you going? You're going to be in New York for the week, aren't you? Because you'll get more interviews. I will be at Dubois Usyk
I'll
because
probably. Mm,
I think it'll be moved from the 12th.
I hope so, for everyone's sake, because I want to see. I want to see it all. Dubois
Yeah,
Usyk
it
one was
doesn't.
good.
Matthew, it doesn't make sense them concertinaing fights like that. But it'll all play out in the wash. But it's good that all these listen, some great fights being made and some great cards at the moment. And what an atmosphere in Birmingham on Saturday
Oh,
night. I'd come from Cardiff the night before, the Vale Sports Centre, where I'd watched 11 bare knuckle fights, 9 of them stopping in the first or second round, and then an 18-minute war between two Bridgerweights, Dan Podmore and Emil Markic, who's fought Brandon Glanton, Thomas Adamek,
yeah.
and has he fought Brandon Glanton, Thomas Adamek, and the other name escapes me right now. But he's fought some big names in the cruiserweight division as well.
Was a great night, a good atmosphere. I think Liam Cameron's ring walk was incredibly
Oh, it's lovely.
powerful. And for him, I was just looking, going, "Wow, look how far you have actually came in the space
And,
of
and,
how
and
many
I had
years."
an angle on the side of his face when he was bouncing on his feet, bouncing on his toes, and he was getting ready, staying warm, thinking about what he was going to do to Ben Whittaker, and there was a real darkness in his eyes, and I thought, wow,
Beautiful.
I, I thought he was going to take him into the trenches over 10 rounds, and Ben Whittaker was going to have to dig deep, but would win on points. That's how I saw it.
Yeah, I think mine. I thought I went with Ben as the favourite in my head, but then I thought if it goes past 5, this is going to be incredibly
Yeah,
intriguing.
exactly,
And
exactly. So that's why Ben was so impressive, Matt. And
agreed.
and the good thing about this was Spitgate isn't carrying on all week, and we haven't got appeals and complaining that Howard Foster's a poor referee, and then it was all dealt with at the post-fight press conference with the interviews that all you guys did with them afterwards.
Yeah,
Because the thing is about, TalkSport are doing a live broadcast, Sky Sports doing a live broadcast. We want the drama. We want to discuss the drama. You want to talk about it in the moment, and we all do. But in the cold light of day, watching that fight back 7, 8, 9 times with my colleagues at TalkSport afterwards in the Birmingham Hilton Metropole Bar, it didn't look that bad a stoppage, you know?
no, no, I've seen a lot worse. Put it that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Look, we will maybe catch up this week, depending
See
on
you
how
tomorrow.
things go.
I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you tomorrow. Gareth, appreciate
Cheers.
it.